everybody.
Hey. So welcome back to the Audacity School podcast. I am Desiree Cockrell with Destination Life, and this is
I am Erica Lynette with Divinement, and today we are discussing the importance of taking up space as women of color in corporate America. So, like I always
yes.
say, this is going to be a good one. It's always going to be a good one, but this is really going to be a good one.
No, this definitely is. We are super excited about this topic. It's definitely in our wheelhouse, taking up space and
Yeah.
having the experience of not taking up space. And when we talk about taking up space today, it's talking about how we own our presence, right? Owning our
Hmm.
presence, owning our voice, owning our contributions in any space that we occupy.
Yes, yes. And the thing I love about it, I mean, this speaks to what we talk about, what we're about with the whole Audacity School, right? It's
Mhm.
about being unapologetically yourself
Yeah.
and just not shrinking to make other people comfortable, feel comfortable. Really
Yeah.
just owning your presence and owning what you bring to the table.
Yeah, 100%. And so today we really want you to reflect on, a recent situation where you may have felt like you didn't take up enough space
Yeah.
or any space at all, and really identify, an action you could have taken to really assert yourself way more confidently than you did before. And I'm sure you could
Hmm.
think about so many things that have come up, in recent days or over the course of your life where you could have taken up more space. And
Yeah.
so we can't woulda, shoulda, coulda, but we can reflect. We can
I know.
reflect on those times and really think about, what could we have, what can we bring to the present as an opportunity for growth from that experience.
Yeah, yeah. And so, now that we have an idea of what taking up space is, of course, it's about being audacious and really owning our space, owning what we bring to the table. Let's jump into talking about the importance of all of that because, we know
Yeah.
Desiree is so crucial for us,
Hmm.
especially as women of color in corporate America, to be seen, to be heard, and to really
Hmm.
feel valued,
Yeah.
and be respected by our peers and, and our, those who are above us.
Hmm.
But we want to feel value for the perspectives that we bring to the table and our
Yeah.
talents. And so,
Yeah.
that's why this is so important.
Yeah, and it's like, and the respect is not just for respect's sake, right? It
Yeah.
allows us to feel safe in our spaces, to
Hmm.
be able to do the work that's necessary in whatever industry that we're in. It also allows us, when we take up space, it allows us to actively challenge stereotypes, right?
Hmm.
Stereotypes
Hmm.
that has been projected on us, and some stereotypes that we actually believe about ourselves. It
Yeah.
actually gives us the opportunity to know what it means to really break barriers when we take up the space, break barriers that will help other people that are like us or have experiences like us be
Hmm.
able to have some of the same opportunities so that, ultimately, like, we're helping others pave a way for, generations, and that will pave a way for another generation. And it just continues
Yeah.
to grow. Like, us taking up space inspires others to do the same.
Right, right. And I know on previous episodes that we've done, we talked about the importance of, how our team looks to us for guidance in different
Mhm.
ways. And this is no different. When we take up space and take that kind of ownership, they're watching. And so,
Yeah.
it encourages them to do the same. So, as you think about, taking up space in your own life, just take some time this week. One of the challenges is to take some time this week to identify a meeting or an interaction where you can do the same, where you can intentionally take up space, whether
Mhm.
that's, practicing speaking up more confidently, or just, being more assertive. So,
Yeah.
just think of an opportunity, whether it's at work or on a board that you serve, just somewhere where you can actually practice doing so and
Yeah.
putting this into practice right away.
Yeah, no, that's really good. The more you can put it into practice right away,
Hmm.
the easier it is for your brain to accept it as truth,
Yeah.
so you can
Yeah.
keep doing it. So
You got to
yeah,
start
so
somewhere.
right, exactly. You got to start somewhere, and you got to start by starting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is so profound. You got to start by starting. So, some of the strategies that we know are really helpful when you're thinking about taking up space authentically is really taking, doing strategies that help you feel aligned to who you are, like allowing you
Hmm.
to authentically be you. So, one way you can take up space is really get reacquainted with who you are. And
Yeah.
as you're getting reacquainted with who you are and what it means to authentically be you and your values, this
Hmm.
is really going to help you assert your presence and be okay with your presence taking up space in the room because you're okay with you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point, Desiree, because when we think about taking up space, a lot of times we think about saying something
Hmm.
or doing something actively, and
Yes.
we will still do active things, but let's think of it also from the perspective of knowing when to speak. And
Yeah.
then, like we talked about on a previous episode, knowing when to listen, because
Yeah.
it's not always about saying something, but sometimes it's about, being intentional about listening and really
Yeah.
seeing, what others are saying so that we can
Yeah.
get better understanding. And then lastly, knowing when to advocate for others.
Yes.
That's a way to step up and really just own that space. So, speaking, listening, and then advocating for others would be three great ways to put it into practice right away.
Yeah, that's amazing. All three of those ways can, especially because if we get hung up with
Hmm.
not speaking up for ourselves, sometimes it's easier for us to take up space for other people. And so
Yeah.
that can be a great place for us to practice
Yes.
and then challenge ourselves to kind of work our way backwards
Hmm.
and start
Exactly.
speaking up for ourselves. So that's good. So we want you to practice this assertiveness, right? Assertive communication
Hmm.
in a meeting, perhaps, whether it's a meeting of a whole bunch of people, but or
Yeah.
maybe it's something that's a little more intimate, or some other conversation that is important to you this week. Whether you do it professionally or personally, even
Hmm.
taking up space in either space is practice, right?
Yes.
So we do honor that we want people to practice in the places that are most comfortable to them, and we
Hmm.
also encourage you to challenge yourself, right? Because there is no growth in comfort, only in
Right.
discomfort, right?
That is
So
so true.
exactly. So we got to pay attention to our tone. We got to pay attention to our body language, right? And just the clarity of our message, and not
Hmm.
overthink about our tone, our body language, our messages. Not for you to overthink, but just for you to pay attention and
Yeah.
to gently have some self awareness about those things as you are, practicing taking up space and really seeing it as practice.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, lastly, when we talk about and think about taking up space, we also have to acknowledge this is also an opportunity to overcome challenges because,
Yeah.
as we are and becoming more audacious, it's not always going to be welcomed. It's not always going to be praised.
Mhm.
And so, especially as women of color,
Yeah.
we already know that we face different unique challenges, when it comes to taking up space, whether it's microaggressions, biases, stereotypes, things of that nature. And so we just have to get to a place where we have to be comfortable with some discomfort in order to get to the level that we're aspiring to get to. So,
Yeah.
just be mindful that there will be some challenges that you may experience, but that's not a reason to just stop in your tracks. Definitely keep going.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it's important to be aware of it, right? Like,
Yes.
just that awareness alone can be really good.
Hmm.
Noting when the challenges are coming up. Am I hesitating to,
Yeah.
take up space? Am I leaning into taking up space? And being aware of, like, well, what's the reason? Is it this fear of being reprimanded? Is it this
Mm.
fear of rejection? Like, I'm not going to get the outcome that I want. And just being aware of it, like really not beating yourself up about it, because sometimes we do need this. We need safety, right?
Hmm.
And psychological safety. And sometimes if our environment isn't giving us psychological safety, we have to rewire ourselves to create that safety for us.
Yeah,
Right?
we
Create that
do.
safety before us, and ask ourselves those questions around, like. How important will this be if,
Hmm. Hmm.
or how detrimental will this be if I don't address it now? Like, is it,
Yeah.
how much is this going to affect me? Really give asking us those hard questions, because feeling challenged in a moment is worth moving on if it's going to help you be more free later,
Hmm.
right?
That's true.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, how can we
Yeah.
find ways to like navigate that while really staying true to ourselves, being aware of those
Yeah.
challenges, honoring ourselves, and still navigating those things so that we can stay true to who we are. Yeah.
Right. No,
Mhm.
that's wonderful. That's great. That's definitely great. And so the challenge that we have for you this week when it comes to, overcoming challenges about, regarding taking up space, think about one challenge that you've already faced when it comes to taking up
Mhm.
space and think and brainstorm ways to overcome it.
Yeah.
Maybe you already put something into practice and it may not have gone so well, or maybe it went
Mhm.
okay, but it could have been better. So,
Yeah.
just think of, ways that you can overcome that, and then share with a trusted friend. I know we talked about on a previous episode about having mentors, and sponsors, individuals who are
Mhm.
actively supporting us. Share with them, run it by them, and see what kind of feedback they can share with you, regarding, the steps that you've taken or that you should take, that they
Yeah.
recommend taking, because, given that they would be your mentor or sponsor, more than likely they've experienced some of the same. So they
Yeah.
can definitely offer some value there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we both have had a lot of experiences with taking up space, Erica.
Yes.
I recently just made a post, and I mean, you feel free to share one that you want to share, but I'm like, I recently shared a post, and I actually posted about it a couple months ago, and I just created another post to just
Hmm.
talk about more things around that same situation. But I, quit a job
Yeah.
after 4 months. And, the first time I posted about it, I shared some insight about, just having difficulties with management and,
Hmm.
like there being some microaggressions. And this time I really talked about that same situation from the lens of how it affected me in terms of the way that I wanted to move, right? And
Yeah.
my teaching
Yeah.
and in my coaching. And so when I think about some way to take up space, like I find that using LinkedIn has helped me take up space in some
Hmm.
areas where maybe it was a challenge for me to take up space before because I was worried about what I sounded like or
Yeah.
what I would be
We
perceived
are so
as.
hard on ourselves.
I know, right? And so, like, just
Yeah.
using that as practice ground for myself to,
Yeah.
just create that security, that self esteem, that validation I need for myself. And then there are
Yeah.
other times where I've had situations that were similar to what I experienced in that 4 month span at that job, and I
Hmm.
have been able to speak up for myself in real life in the
Yeah.
microaggression that I've experienced, being able to actually say something myself and go back and say to myself like, "Oh, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad
Yes.
I challenged myself to say something and not just let things ride." Right.
Right.
And so
Right.
I think that so I'm saying two things. One is um, just really wanting to show like it can be really easy to take up space and using things like LinkedIn or saying something in a meeting, like we talked about earlier, can be really great ways to do that. And maybe you're challenging something internally, but then there are also times
Yeah.
when you have the opportunity to challenge something in you externally. And one of those ways is,
Yes.
if there's a microaggression or if there's something that you don't think is quite right, if there's a
Mm.
boundary being crossed, and being able to say something, whether it's personal or professional, I think it's really important for us to, kind of just lean into those opportunities and not overthink it so much. Yeah.
I
What about
love
you,
that.
Erica?
Look,
Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
listen, when you were saying
Tell
that
us.
the internal versus the external, I'm sitting here like,
Yeah.
okay, she's stepping on toes right now. She's
Ah!
stepping on my toes, right? Because
Get the
I was
toes
thinking,
together.
well, and I'll tell you, for me, I think it's more internal because,
Mm-hmm.
when I was developing my platform in the early stages of developing Divinement,
Yeah.
I was really questioning, like, okay, Lord, is this really what you want me to do? And I was like, I don't know, because I'm still growing myself. I'm still learning myself. And that was a conversation I had with like some trusted friends and even my therapist. I was like, I just don't know, because I feel like I'm still learning myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that she shared with me, she said, Erica, the beautiful thing about it is that yes, you are learning, but that's what makes you relatable. And
Yeah.
so she said, own that space that you're in, because it's not about being, 10 steps ahead of somebody. It's really just being a little bit ahead and showing them, what you did, so that they don't have to go through the same, struggle, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was really more internal,
Mm-hmm.
just really owning who I was and what I brought to the table,
Yeah.
owning, my skills, my experiences, and not doubting that, not doubting the
Yeah.
significance of them. Feeling like they were worthy, of sharing,
Mm-hmm.
and they were worthy enough to help someone, again, get to another level, help someone get through their situation, and understand, yes, you can make it through it as well, just like I did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that internal battle can be just as daunting at times,
Yeah.
as the external one. But I love that you brought that up. that comparison, because I mean sometimes it's both. I mean sometimes we
Yeah.
struggle in both areas, but I would
Yeah.
say for my example it's definitely more so internal. Like, just own
Yeah.
the space you're in, girl. Just go.
Yeah, just
Just
own
go.
it. Just own
Yeah.
it. And I mean, and like, and not minimizing, right? Like
Right.
whatever challenge that we're having, because
Yes.
that's the way to overcome it. Because I mean, that's the section you were talking about is just really that overcoming,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges, and the way to overcome it is to, not minimize it either,
Right, right.
and
There's
realize that
power
it
in our
is.
voices, and in our
Yeah,
experiences,
yeah,
just
yeah,
say it, just do it. And it's about getting out of the perfection mode. At least it was for
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Stop trying to make it perfect,
Hmm.
keep making progress and it's going to perfect itself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
100, 100. Oh, this is good.
it's
We coming to the
good.
end now. We're coming to the end now. So, weekly challenge, right? So before we wrap up, we know this is a quick one for you all today, but we really hope that you can take some of these quick bites. A lot of you have
Hmm.
given us so much love on these lives in terms of the conversation and just having it out here. And hopefully you're
Yes.
taking away some of these tips and these challenges for yourself. So before we wrap up, our challenge for you this week is really, again, identify that one meeting, that one interaction where, you really can intentionally take up more space and really
Hmm.
practice speaking up confidently and assertively. So that is
Yes.
your practice ground. I feel like that's been clear all the way through, but
Right,
just in
right.
case you missed it.
But they say we have to hear things multiple times, so
100%, 100, multiple times for it to really click. Yes.
right, right. And so, Desiree always shares a wonderful action to take, as far as like actually implementing something. I'm going to share, of course, the reflection piece, because we always have to
Mhm.
make sure that we take some intentional time to reflect, on our experiences. So when you think about taking up space in your life, think on what that really means for you, this
Yeah.
week. How did it feel when you were more assertive? How did you feel more confident? Did you feel terrified? Just kind of just sit in that space a little bit and really think about your feelings, your emotions, even your reactions. And then, again, run that by a colleague, a trusted colleague, a friend,
Yeah.
or even your mentor or sponsor, just to get some feedback.
Yeah, no, I love that piece of reflection. And so, taking up space is not just about occupying, physical space and just being
Right.
there. It is a part of it. Our physicality and how we show up, adds to how we take up space. But
Yeah.
it's also about owning your voice, right? Owning your
Hmm.
voice, your presence in every situation.
Yeah, yeah, and we're talking about being, these bad, audacious, authentic, and
Mhm.
assertive women of color.
Mhm,
And if we're
mhm.
going to do that, we have to take these steps. And so
Yeah,
that's the only way we're going to be able to make a powerful impact. Whether it's in corporate America, in our,
yeah,
on our boards, whatever, or in our personal lives.
yeah.
So we just have to, be audacious and just get out there and just do it. So
Yes,
you can do
yes.
it, ladies. Let's go.
Yes, yes, let's
Let's
go. So make
go.
sure you join us next time
Yes.
for more tips, insights on excelling your leadership, your life, your career, and all the things as it relates to how we love to empower women of
Hmm.
color in their professional trajectory on the Audacity School. So I'm Desiree Cocroft.
Yes, and I'm Erica Lynette, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next
Yes,
time.
thank you so much.
Bye
Have a great
bye.
day, you all.